Okay, hello everyone and welcome to today's Starter Workshop, our monthly series of education and updates from the Starter team. Great to have you all with us today. My name's David Portman, so very pleased to be your host today. Also joined by some fantastic speakers today. So I'd like to introduce my colleague, Product Director of User Value, Michaela Heigl. Hi, Michaela.
Hi everyone, very happy to be here.
Thanks, Michaela. And our very special guest as well today, so welcome Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hello, great to be here, thank you.
Great. So Amy Poe, Collections Manager at the Women in Military Service for America, will be joining us in just a moment. I'll hand over to Amy. Amy's going to take you through how she's using Starter to really bring to life some oral histories through a travelling exhibition. So the files being housed in Preservica Starter, and they're actually using a QR code in the exhibitions. So really interesting story and journey that Amy's going to share in just a second. After Amy, we're going to move on to highlight some of the new features and the timings for delivery of those new features coming in Starter. There'll be a demo and training as well, a video of the highly anticipated bulk metadata upload for files and metadata. So that's really exciting, and we're really glad that we can show you that today. It's coming to your Starter account very, very soon. And then I'll round things off with some next steps and a couple of announcements as well. So as you know, for those of you attended these sessions before, these are designed to be engaging and interactive, so please do use the chat function on your GoToWebinar toolbar. Ask questions, provide feedback, and add comments throughout. We will have sections for Q&A, both general and for Amy as well after her presentation. If you'd like to speak, we can open up the lines. Everyone's in listen-only mode at the moment, but we can open up the lines so that you can verbalize any questions that you might have. So just hit the hand icon on the GoToWebinar toolbar and we'll open up your line. As I said, we will have a break for questions at the end of today's session, but do feel free to type those questions in throughout. Okay, so delighted to welcome Amy. So Amy, I'm just going to throw over the control so you can share your screen, and then I'll hand over to you.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for the introduction, David, and for the opportunity to share with all of you today about how we're using Preservica Starter Plus to share firsthand accounts of service women with new audiences. I'm the collections manager with the Military Women's Memorial. I've been with them for about a year. Over my shoulder is a World War I era Marine Corps veteran, Olive Miller. So she's going to join me as I talk to you today. Next slide, please, David. I just wanted to give you a bit of background about us. You may not know who we are. We're the only national memorial honoring all women who've served in and with the U.S. Armed Forces in the past and today. We're located just outside of the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. at the ceremonial entrance to Arlington National Cemetery. And we're a living memorial, so we work with current service women today. Many people are surprised to learn that we're actually not a federal institution, even though we're located on the grounds of the National Cemetery. How did we come to be? After the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, particularly World War II service women, they looked around and they failed to see their service and their stories honored and recognized among the national monuments. They asked, what about us? And because of that, they began a grassroots campaign to build a memorial that would honor service women. The construction on federal lands was eventually authorized by Congress in the 1980s, and then the memorial was dedicated in 1997. We're a nonprofit organization. We're supported solely by private donations, grant funding, and the generosity of corporate supporters. So just a few notes about our collection. Next slide, please. And then I'll talk about our oral histories. We have more than 8,000 donations that have built up our collection collecting began in 1995 when they realized that items would be needed to fill the exhibit space in our gallery. It's comprised of uniforms, medals, documents, including personal correspondence, military orders, manuscripts, all kinds of photos, slides, and audiovisual materials. We also have a small research library, and then institution archives, because the history of how this memorial came to be really reflects the changing role and giving voice to women in the telling of military history. And then finally, we have our oral history collection, which is more than 1,400 oral histories, perhaps the largest collection of service women's oral histories in the nation. Next slide, please. The memorial began collecting oral histories in the early 2000s, but constraints on staffing and funding have meant that the stories have largely remained in their original format. And there's some cabinets sitting behind me. If you open them up, you'll see some of the bins that are in the photos here. So at the time that I came on board last year, there was a growing recognition of the need to digitize and make the resources accessible. This was prompted in part because of closures with COVID-19, and then our new leadership really wanting to get the word out about our mission and what we do here to tell the stories of women's participation in the nation's defense. So the older formats that you see in storage here, we do have playback equipment on hand, but access is really limited to on-site visitors. I got involved in writing some grant applications, and our curator has been working with some corporate donors over time to work on digitizing some of these old formats. But it became clear in discussions with corporate donors and funders that they were really looking for a demonstrated commitment to digital preservation and access. Being a team of two, we also needed a solution that we could reasonably implement with our staff and with a wide range of other collections related tasks that put demands on our time, as you can imagine, with all the varied formats that we hold. I personally am a newer archivist. I came to the profession in 2020 with the completion of a Master of Science in Library Science and a focus on archives, and have passed the Certified Archivist exam. I'm working on a digital archive specialist certification, so I understand the fundamentals of performing fixity checks, generating checksums, but having an active digital preservation tool available to us is really helping us save time, giving us assurance that when we complete digitizations that those assets are protected, and that helps us meet the needs of funders. Having this tool is also helping us put in place infrastructure for future digitization projects, and we didn't have that before. Next slide, please. So Preservica Starter Plus met the need for both preservation and access, and it also provided us with the customization options that we wanted to introduce this new portal in conjunction with our website. We actually haven't officially launched it yet through our website, but all the colors and images that you see here are consistent with our new branding standards. Another excellent feature that's moving us forward in terms of professional best practices is now we have the ability to co-locate our metadata with our assets. Previously, really more currently, to be honest, most of this information is stored in spreadsheets. But for the first time now, we can have all of those information together. We're really still in the early stages of adding our metadata, but we're looking forward to learning more about the bulk ingest process that we're going to hear about later. Through generous funding from Virginia Humanities, we were able to offset the cost of the first year of our subscription and make a case to corporate donors to complete a proof of concept for digitization projects. So instead of the bins of assets that I showed you before, now we have a custom portal with folders for each of the service women whose stories have been digitized and that we've been able to add to the portal. So you see that here, and at the end of the slides, I'll take you into our actual portal. I just included these screenshots to give you a quick look. Next slide, please. As David mentioned previously, not only is Preservica Starter Plus giving us access through our portal, it's really helping us take access to our institutional resources to a whole new level by enhancing our exhibits. I have just an image capture here of a new section of a traveling exhibit that we're bringing to audiences in Virginia. You see some images of service women, and then next to them are QR codes. These actually link directly to the portal where those digitized assets are held. So Preservica is also opening up possibilities for us to engage the support of transcriptionists working off-site. Only a portion of our recordings have been transcribed. So now we're actually able to look at options for a streamlined process that we'll be able to use with a volunteer team to generate transcriptions for our oral histories. We'll also be using the QR codes to enhance education resources that are developed by our programs and education team. We have a great team putting together resources for 6 through 12 educators, and now they can have access to oral histories that relate to those lessons. The portal is also making it easier for us to share our collections with academic institutions. One of the sites where we're traveling our exhibit to just in the next month is Virginia Tech. We had a request from a professor there who was familiar with our exhibit that's coming. He's teaching an oral history course this semester. He wanted to come on site to experience our collections, but I was able to refer him to our digital collections on Preservica Starter Plus. And then finally, we're also new members of SNAC, which is Social Networks in Archival Context, with the ability to co-locate our metadata and our oral history assets. We will now have the potential to eventually be able to link our collections metadata to related holdings in other repositories. So that's an initiative that we're hoping to approach down the road. I'd like to give you a closer look at the use of the QR codes. If you could move us to the next slide, please, David. Thanks so much. The photos that you see here in the background are images from our exhibit gallery on site at the Military Women's Memorial. These are images of our installed exhibit, The Color of Freedom, honoring the diversity of America's service women. It opened last year. It features the stories of 35 diverse women of color who've served alongside or in the armed forces in spite of discrimination and even when their service was completely unwelcome. We're actually closed right now for renovations through June, which will give us some new capabilities. But because of the closure, we wanted to have the ability to take our timely exhibit on the road, given the conversation in the United States right now around systemic racism. With Preservica Starter, we've been able to add another layer of storytelling to the exhibit. We didn't have the oral histories embedded in the exhibit, but with the traveling exhibit, we do. So just to hone in on one, if you look at the image up front of Sarah Keys Evans, her story is largely unknown, but she, through her court case, laid some groundwork for better known Rosa Parks. Sarah Keys Evans served in the 1950s in the Women's Army Corps. She was in uniform, traveling from Fort Dix to her home in North Carolina. When she crossed state lines, a new driver came on board and was joined by a white Marine Corps member and was asked to give up her seat for the white Marine who got on the bus. She refused. She was arrested for disorderly conduct, spent the night in jail, and eventually, with the help of the NAACP, she took her case to court. And there was a ruling in 1995 that there could not be segregation on interstate buses, helping to lay the groundwork for Rosa Parks' later success. So by providing direct access to first-hand accounts of women's featured in the exhibit, we're really able to bring these stories right to those who are experiencing our exhibits in a totally new way. And you can listen to her exhibit through our portal, to her oral history through our portal. Next slide, please. The image is a bit small, but if you look across the top of the slide here, you can see the complete rendering of our traveling exhibit that we'll be bringing to locations across the Commonwealth of Virginia all throughout this year. It's about 39 feet in length and has the QR codes embedded with select stories, as well as a QR code to bring viewers to our entire portal, and then some additional oral histories of diverse women of color featured on another panel. This exhibit is really made possible through funding through Virginia Humanities, which provided us with a grant. And excitingly, we're exploring taking this exhibit on the road nationally, and the planning is in place right now to get those stops on the calendar. So now, if you'd like, I can take you to the actual portal if you want to take down the slides, David, and then I'll show you it live, and hopefully that's going to work.
Sure, so just passing it over to you now, Amy.
Okay. All right, let me exit here. All right.
So we can see your PowerPoint, so you just need to drag the browser into the screen that's currently got the PowerPoint on.
Okay, how's that? Looks like it's flickering.
No, we can still see the slides.
I've never experienced that before like that. Try again. How about that?
That's perfect.
Great. Finally success. All right, this is the home screen of our portal. You see this wonderful image of these are nurses marching in a parade here from our archives. There's some basic information about our collection, and then this fighter pilot who I have on the thumbnail for our oral histories folder. I'm hoping that eventually we'll be able to house other audiovisual assets on this portal, but for now it's primarily dedicated to these oral histories. As you saw in the screenshot earlier, I've created a folder for each of our service women, and then within the folders they have the digitized assets. I'm going to click on the folder for Sarah Keys Evans, who I was talking about previously. We have 2 cassette recordings of her oral history interview, and then each side has been digitized separately. And then I can drill you down. The recording is there. Unfortunately, I guess the playback won't work with the setup, but you can see the metadata that we plugged in using Dublin Core. We actually haven't been using as an institution any like traditionally recognized schema, so this is a new opportunity for us to adopt Dublin Core. We're also using that in another application for exhibit development, Omeka. So it's a great opportunity to kind of fine-tune our metadata for multiple purposes. So I'll take you back here. But that's all that I wanted to show right now. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have about how we're doing this with the QR codes, with the exhibit, and appreciate the opportunity.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Amy. So yeah, as Amy said, please do submit any questions that you've got. Just a comment from me. I mean, I think with QR codes, they've been around a while, but with the pandemic, they've certainly become a lot more popular, and I think it's a really great idea to link that physical exhibition via a QR code that we're all used to using now to your oral histories in Starter. So I think it's a great initiative, and we wish you all the best as you kick things off in February. Michaela, did you have any questions or comments for Amy?
Yeah, thank you, David. I think that was just terrific. It's really great. Who gave you guys the idea to do this via QR codes? Did you see that anywhere? Did it sort of make sense? I was just wondering where the idea came from. It's such a good one.
The idea came out of a couple of conversations. One, we do have someone on staff for development, and we were talking about the things that appeal to funders, and really we've just been having a lot of discussions about access. So someone on our development team mentioned the idea of QR codes, but the way we really decided to implement it is when we had our conversations with Virginia Humanities. They came to visit our memorial. They were very interested in our collections, in our resources, specifically the oral history collection. But because access was so limited, we really didn't have an idea originally about using these oral histories. But then when the topic of QR codes came up, we kind of collectively thought, well, what if we could try to make the oral histories that we do have digitized accessible via QR code? And then it was just fortuitous timing. We were working with a corporate donor that wanted to explore possibilities for digitizing some of our oral histories with us, and they wanted to start with a proof of concept. They're also very focused on access. So this resonated with them and kind of gave us the impetus to put the plan in place. So they're very pleased too, because now the work that they've done on our behalf is really getting into the hands of scholars and educators in the 6 through 12 arena.
Thank you very much, Amy. I think there's another question, David.
Yeah, question from Kate for you, Amy. Roughly how much gigabytes of space have you used up so far for your collection?
Yeah, so let me take a look here, because honestly, I can't tell you. I know that we're in the lowest level of Starter Plus, and I feel like it might be like 1.5. Here, let me go to the, I got the back end here. Oh, no. Okay, we've got 37.5. Can you see that?
I'm sharing my screen at the moment,
yours,
Amy.
Okay. Yeah, 37.5 gigabytes.
Okay.
We're using at this point for roughly 100 oral histories.
Okay, thank you. And then Kate had a second question. How are you? Well, she says, are you hand entering the metadata for each item, or are you using bulk upload or an uploading template?
Yeah, so we're just getting started. I'm planning to use the template for some of the fields that are going to be common across multiple assets. I am hoping that with this bulk ingest option, that when we do the next go round for our next batch of digitizations, that we'll be able to upload everything at once. We have a fair amount of cleanup to do on our metadata, and so want to do that first. But yes, we'll be using the template. Some of the information that's in there right now has been entered by hand.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's a nice segue into the next section of today's presentation around uploading metadata and files in bulk, which Michaela will introduce in just a second. But thank you, Amy, so much for your presentation, for sharing what you've been working on. And as I said, we wish you all the best for your program and look forward to hearing its success the future. So you're going to stay around with us, aren't you? So towards the end, if there's any other questions, please do
Yeah,
let us
definitely. Yeah, and feel free to reach out at any time if you have questions as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Michaela, over to you.
Thank you, David. So I just wanted to, as it is a good tradition by now in these starter community workshops, talk a little bit about the roadmap. That's what I do every time. And I'm very happy to report that very, very soon we'll be releasing an exciting new feature that many of you have been waiting for, which is enables you to upload metadata and files in bulk. Yes. So it is imminent. We think it's going to be beginning of February. So yes, it's coming soon. Then followed by a new effortless way to invite contributions to your archive and then curate them in a very easy and efficient way. We hope to get that out to you in April. And then a new experience, discovery and access, a new access portal. I think you're aware of this. That should also be delivered in Q1 of this year. So many, many exciting major features and developments that are coming to you, coming to your starter. We would like to invite you to join our beta test group and get early access of these new features and give us feedback, which, as you know, we always greatly appreciate. And here is the poll. Would you like to take part in the new features beta testing? So yes or no. And if you're saying yes, then we will invite you and involve you, and you can do workshops with us. And let us know what you think. Okay, great. So thank you very much. Let's go to the next one. So as I said, uploading metadata and files in bulk is a great time saver. And you've been waiting for this. It's currently actually being tested as we speak and will be rolled out next week or the week after. So very, very soon. And in order to celebrate this, we've got a little nugget prepared for you guys today. You're going to get you a training video, a very good one, that will explain a little bit more what this feature is going to look like and what you can do with it. We go to the next slide. When we started talking about this, you gave us some ideas of what you could be using this feature for, and that was quite interesting. So some ideas around this, the use cases for bulk metadata upload is to involve students and freelancers to populate these templates. So that means that you don't have to do all the work. This can be done by somebody else actually, and then be sent to you so they can upload a template together with the assets. That's a very good idea. If you are a lone arranger, pressed for time, you can outsource that to somebody else. They can do all the work, send you the metadata file, and you upload. The other idea, the other use case was that many of you said, well, I've got a backlog, right? Or on my hard drive, I've got files sitting there that I've never had a chance really to ingest anywhere. So this is another good opportunity for you to clear your backlog. And we also had feedback from a digitization agency that said, well, this is great. Now I can also supply the metadata along with all the assets to the archivist, just ready for the archivist to ingest everything into their system. So these are some ideas. You may have your own way of using it. The most important thing is that you're going to use the feature. We want to encourage you to use it. And in order to do so, we have made available a whole host of training and support materials, really to make it easy for you. There will be, or there is a training video going to watch it. There is a step-by-step guide, an FAQ document. We are going to make the metadata templates available. So they're going to be in Starter, and we're also going to put them on the Community Hub so you can take a look at them. And so these are all fantastic resources that you should use. And if you wish, and I would strongly encourage it, please come to our Q&A workshop, which will focus on this feature and which you can ask all kinds of other questions. So it's really for you to be able to ask your questions, get answers. If there's anything you're not sure about, please join us on Tuesday, the 8th of February, and you can register for this event on the Community Hub. I should say that for all the events, actually, if you want to know what's going on, there is any interesting events that are coming up, that could be a special interest group, a focus group, or it could be a workshop. Just have a look at the event section of the Community Hub where you find lots of information. And I think now, David, are we ready to watch the training video that will explain how to upload files and metadata in bulk?
Yes, thank you, Michaela. So this training video is presented by Paul Clark, our training manager. So I'll just pass over to him.
Hello and welcome to this starter training video on using the bulk upload metadata function. This video will show you how to quickly upload metadata and files in bulk in Starter. This function is available to all Starter users, and this video will explain the following steps: how to download a metadata template, Dublin Core and mods, the requirements for adding metadata to the downloaded metadata template, structuring the folder containing assets and metadata file, and then how to upload the completed metadata template file alongside a folder containing files. In order to complete the bulk upload of files and metadata successfully, you will need to have prepared the following: a folder with the files you wish to upload and the metadata that you want to associate with your files using either the Dublin Core or mods fields. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to be using a small amount of content, which I'm showing you now, in a folder called bulk upload files and metadata. So 3 assets in here. Okay, the same process applies for larger ingests as well. The only restriction to remember is the overall package size cannot be larger than around 4 gigabytes, depending on the browser, which is the browser restriction of what can be processed in real time. I also have my metadata prepared already in a separate file in Excel, which I can open up, and shows that not necessarily all of the fields have been populated, but some. Okay, only those fields that are populated will display in Starter. Okay, so notice we have the file name first, so this corresponds directly to the file that's being ingested. And then we have our standard, in this case, Dublin Core fields populated with our metadata. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to Starter and log in. So as you can see, I already have some sample folders and assets in my Starter collection already, but I'm going to be uploading that new folder containing those files I showed earlier along with the metadata. So the first thing I need to do is to download the appropriate metadata template. So from the Add button, I have the option here to download mods or download Dublin Core template. So I'm going to choose my Dublin Core template here, and that then saves in my downloads folder. So I'm going to go into there and I'm going to copy this, or open this up actually, and we'll save this in the location of where my actual content is. So I'm going to save it into this area here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that path and then let's do a save as. Put the path in there, and I'm going to change this name to okay, ensuring it's still set as a CSV, comma delimited format. Okay, so if I go back to my folder structure, we can now see that that file exists here. Okay, I'm not going to make any changes to the structure of this. If you do, the ingest of that metadata will not work. So what I'm going to do now is open up my prepared metadata. Okay, here it is. And what I'm going to do is copy the metadata I prepared and paste it into my downloaded template. Okay, it may be that you don't necessarily have your metadata prepared in this fashion, so care needs to be taken when copying and pasting that into your downloaded template. Okay, so I've copied and pasted that into there. Again, I can just check that all of that has been pasted into the appropriate field, and I have my file name set there as well. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close, minimize that. The CSV metadata file can handle special characters in UTF-8 format, capitalization, spaces, emojis, and there is no length on the limit. Okay, so once that's done, I can now upload the folder, files, and metadata. So to do this back in Starter, I can select the Upload a Folder with metadata using one of the templates option within the Add menu. Okay, I then need to go to the folder that contains the assets and the metadata. So this one here, and click on Upload. Okay, that will then give me a message confirming what I've selected and if I wish to proceed. I do, so I'm going to click on Upload. The upload will begin. The notification bar will appear where we can see the progress. So the first step is the browser upload. Once that completes, I'll then be asked to complete some options around the metadata, and here we are. So the first thing I need to do over here under action required is to select the metadata file. So in this drop-down list, I will have the relevant CSV file that's available. If you've got more than one CSV file in that folder, ensure you choose the one that contains your bulk metadata. I then need to choose the associated metadata template, so in this case, Dublin Core, and then the appropriate delimiter for that CSV file. In this case, it's CSV. Okay. Once selected, I then click on Complete Ingest. So if any problems or errors are encountered at this stage, it will produce an error message. Okay, so in this example, I have the first message here telling me there are files without associated file names. No metadata will map to those rows. So the first thing it's highlighted here is the folder itself. Okay, so because we don't ingest metadata against our folder currently, that will be in the future, I can ignore that. Alternatively, what I could have done is in my CSV file is put this as a file name without any metadata, and then that message would not display. And then the second message here relates to a specific asset within my file. Okay, so it's saying that this particular JP2 file does not have any files associated with that. Okay, so I'm going to investigate that further. So I'm going to cancel the ingest, and then I'm going to go into my metadata file that I've prepared here. Okay, so these are the three assets with their file name. I'm now going to also open up my structure to see if there's any discrepancies here. Okay, so this particular file here against this here. Okay, and I can see that actually the file name I've got here is incorrect. Okay, so I'm going to copy that and put in the correct name into here. Okay, so the file name is now mapped correctly to the file that it represents. Make sure I save that correctly. Go back into Starter, and I need to start that process again. So back over to Add, upload a folder with metadata using one of the templates, select my top level folder that contains my assets and metadata file, and again click on Upload, and then Upload again to continue. So again, first step will be for the ingest to proceed, and then if completed successfully, we'll display a success message. And here we go, so I can continue, choose my appropriate metadata file again, choose my associated template and delimiter, and again click on Complete Ingest to proceed. Okay, so now the only message that's displaying is the one that I understand in terms of the fact that this is trying to suggest that this particular file doesn't have any metadata, which is correct. This is the folder which I'm not associating any metadata with. So I understand this and I'm happy to continue. So I click on here. The ingest will then continue. And again, we can see a notification. If I click on the Preserving tab, we can then see the steps that it goes through as part of the preservation. And again, depending on the size of the content you're uploading, will depend on how long that overall process takes. As this is a small amount, it shouldn't take too long to complete all of this. Okay, so it's now preserving, and that's completed, and we get our success message. So I can now close and hide my notification bar, and I can also see now that I have my folder, bulk upload files and metadata appearing here. I drill down into here. Here are my 3 assets. The thumbnails may take a few seconds to generate, but if I drill down into one of my assets, I can now see I have my associated doubling core metadata from my CSV file displayed successfully here. Okay, that concludes this video. Thank you for watching.
Okay, guys, there you go then. So very exciting. A nice demo and overview from Paul. Michaela, was there any final comments you wanted to add in before we kind of move on to the last part of today's session?
No, just you know, as soon as the feature comes out, please give it a try, and if you can, give us feedback by starter info or our emails or whatever is most comfortable for you. We're always happy to hear from you. Just let us know how you're getting on, what you've tried. Just share your experience with us. That would be great. I think there was a question as well on here.
Yeah, so question is, in a future update, do you anticipate the template categories will be editable and customizable? For example, in our mods metadata, we have 4 contributor fields because there is usually more than one author, and same for an editor, and we want to capture that.
Yes, we are looking at this development, although mainly for the professional edition that we are developing at the moment, and that will be customized metadata fields. So very much we're looking at this, and we're looking into this as we are aware of the need for these additional metadata fields. Absolutely.
Okay, and then also a comment around, there's lots of features coming into Starter, and obviously, in this workshop we're focused on what's coming to Starter. Will these, and this is another question, will these be rolling out to users in other editions, so for Cloud Edition, etc.? So I think you alluded to that slightly with the new Professional Edition, Michaela.
Yes, but it's absolutely true that this particular this feature is coming to Starter first in how you have seen it. So it doesn't have any additional metadata fields. That's what we're going to deliver for now, and then we're going to in the future expand this feature and add more things into it that are useful. But that's going to be in other editions of our product range.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you for that. So just a reminder then for everyone, I'm sure you're all aware we've talked about the Community Hub and accessing some of the resources that are available, particularly related to the new feature that you've just seen with bulk metadata upload. Do check out the Hub if you haven't already. You just need to hit the icon you can see on your screen there at the top of your Starter account. Go in, you need to create an account when you first enter, and then just update that account with your information, your profile, so people know who you are. Add a picture. It's always a nice profile picture, but it is a great place to access resources that we've talked about today, but also build relationships with others in the community, ask questions, get support, and stay up to date with different events that we run and wider digital preservation events as well. I did also just want to share with you, you will have received an email from me this afternoon or this morning, based on where you are in the world. But we're delighted to announce we've now got available some low-cost capacity upgrades. So, given what we've talked about today, obviously you're now able to put more content into Starter and more easily. And in the future, we're going to, as Michaela introduced, we'll have a way of inviting other contributors to add content to your archive. So we've introduced these new low capacity upgrades so that you've got the confidence to grow your archive and not worry about the limitation, particularly with the free version of Preservica at Starter being at 5 gig. And we feel that, based on market research, we've spoken to a lot of users and prospects across the community, but this entry level pricing of $25 per month for 25 gig, considering the features and the capabilities of Starter, is very well received. So we hope if you are struggling and you want to grow your archive, but you're restricted by budget or the thought of a big step up to Starter Plus, we've introduced these smaller steps to help you out. There's also email support included with these capacity upgrades. So you've got support when you need it on the email, not just on the Community Hub, and flexible payment options as well, however you'd like to pay. We're pretty flexible. So do check that out. You check out my email. You can learn more about it on the website as well. Now, Michaela, I think you'd like to introduce a new member of the product team.
Absolutely. So I've got the pleasure to introduce Coin, who is going to be the product manager in Starter. Coin, when did you start? How long ago is this? Not too long ago, right?
Sorry, I was on mute then. Yes, not too long ago. So I started at the beginning of this month, and obviously I'm very excited to be here. Looking forward to how we can develop this product and obviously make it better for the current clients that we've got and future clients. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
Thank you very much for introducing yourself. Great addition to the team, the growing product team. So thank you very much for that.
Great, and welcome, Coin. So we're coming up to the end of our session now. We've had a few questions throughout the event today, but just one last chance if you did want to have a ask a question, provide any feedback, please do drop it into the questions tab. Alternatively, of course, you can access the team via the community hub. You can post a question that you might think of at a later date on there, and we'll also be posting a recording of today's session up on the community hub, so you can check that out if you've got a moment later on today or in the future.
And just again to reiterate, in case it wasn't clear, so these new features that are coming are absolutely for all starter users. So whether you have a free or a plus version, you're going to be able to use these new features.
Yep, great point, Michaela. Yep, they're going to be available to everyone. So very exciting time. As I said, Michaela mentioned, in the next couple of weeks you will have your hands on the new bulk metadata upload feature. So do look out for our announcement on that, and you may well see it in the product as well before the announcement. So yep, we'll keep you posted on that. But it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So with that, then we'll bring today's workshop to a close. But thank you very much, Amy. Superb presentation. Thank you for joining us and sharing that with us today. Thank you to Michaela as well for taking us through the new features, and to Paul for the demonstration of this exciting new feature we're going to see in the next couple of weeks. And finally, a welcome to Koyin. Great to have you on board and part of the team. Okay, so thank you. Have a great day. Hope you've enjoyed the session, and we will speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.